And all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh my God, like this part of the muscle starting to show, or like, oh, like my shoulders look really defined today. Like it literally is a light switch moment. And then it becomes a game, and then it becomes a race. Cause now you're like, okay, like this is working. Like I can see the changes. I can feel the changes.
You built this shield around yourself because that's how you feel safe.
Yes. 100%. You've nailed it.
Yes.
And don't do anything to make it crumble, because then I'll feel out of control.
May I suggest that you take time to sit with what that number means to you and get ready to let it go.
You're going to coach me. You don't have to suggest anything, because I don't really listen to suggestions. What I listen to,
here's what I want you to do.
You better start running. Hey there, so it's Mark from the We Do Hard Things podcast, and I have two very, very special guests with me this morning. But before I get into introducing them, I just want to explain a little bit about what we're doing here. So anyone who listens to the podcast knows that it's all about facing hard things and doing hard things, and the lessons that you learn when you have those hard times in your life. Well, my team came to me and said, Mark, how can you be the podcast host of We Do Hard Things? And then secretly behind the scenes, you do these hard things, but you never actually talk about them. You know, you don't put them on IG. You don't talk about them. You don't do anything. We need to give you a challenge. And I was like, what? I do enough things. I don't want to have to put myself out there and be vulnerable and do all those things I ask of my guests. And they're like, no. You have to come up with a challenge. So I came up with a challenge, and I have Alex Chicoine. She's a registered holistic nutritional practitioner and a lot of other things. She's an in-house nutritionist for an international group of mom athletes called Running Moms. She's a mother of two. She loves exercise. I'm bringing her on. I also have Neil Balmbra, who is my friend, but also the head coach of the gym that I go to. He's a registered PT. You may see where we're going with this when we're bringing on a nutritionist and someone who can help with physical training. But here's the challenge. The challenge is, in a certain number of days, I want to get 6-pack abs. So Alex and Neil, welcome. And how the hell am I going to do this?
Yay. Thank you so much for having us on.
So how does someone like me, so you guys don't know maybe too much about my history, but 3 years ago this month, my wife and I decided we were going to start getting more healthy, more fit. I was 236 pounds and out of shape, and never exercised, and went on and off diets and stuff, but never could really stick to anything. And today I'm working on still hitting my goal with this silly bracelet that I have on my wrist of getting to my high school weight. I'm 7 pounds away from it still. And so I'm working on this goal right now. But right after that, how can someone who's 37 years old, who has mostly been heavy, who has never exercised, who's never really dieted, how can I get to the point where I can get like 6-pack abs? Like, walk me through what's even involved in this, because I honestly don't even know if I know what I'm actually getting myself into here.
So from nutritional standpoint, I think it's really important to differentiate between the weight as the number in the scale and then your muscle mass. So when we talk about losing weight, it's very important that we're not losing muscle mass, because you may have 6-packs and weigh heavier than what your goal weight is, but that goal weight may also mentally hold you back from reaching that physique that you want. Right. So it's important to remember that the scale is a dirty liar. So I work a lot with the numbers. I work a lot with talking outside of the scale and having the goal of reaching a certain weight and having a body physique. Sometimes they don't match. So I always like to remind people that the scale is a liar, because you can have 6-pack abs and you can weigh 200 pounds, and that's okay. That can still be healthy for you. Right. So when we talk about the physical goal and the weight loss goal, those are two separate goals.
So this is interesting, actually, because I want, so I was ready to jump on this challenge of like, let's get 6-pack abs, because I thought along the way, I would kind of sweep up this little goal that I set a year and a half ago to get to 182, which was the weight that I happen to remember being in grade 12. Now in grade 12, I was a very unhealthy 182, and I'm trying to work towards still being a very healthy 182. But my son last night was like, Dad, he said the exact same thing. It's so funny. He's 12 years old and he goes, you should really focus on this weight loss goal. And then once you hit that, focus on the next goal, because they may actually compete against each other. And I was like, I'm like, that's really insightful. He's 12.
That's amazing.
I
But
love
even
kids
the
for their honesty. I can tell you from my personal weight loss, I lost 50 pounds before I had my daughter. And 9 months postpartum, I was pregnant again and 13 pounds away from what I was at my lowest before. My son, who's younger, is now 3. And I don't even know what I weigh anymore because I gave up on the scale, because as I was building muscle and building strength for running and building the endurance and really putting definition on my body, the scale was messing with my mind. So I had to get rid of that number figure and really focus on, what does healthy feel to me? How can I nourish my body and work on my exercise intensity in a way that's going to fuel my muscle? Because if that is my goal right now, then I can't worry about that number on the scale. So I have been in a similar position of you of having that tear between, I want to lose weight, but I also want the muscle. So how can I feed the muscle, lose the fat, and not worry about what the scale says? Because there's way more to the body composition than that number on the scale.
Yeah. Well, and so Neil, I mean, I've shared with this with you offline. I know that, in the fall, you went through your own transformation because you've been working towards your own goal. Now anyone who's really gone through all the podcast episodes probably remembers you, because I had you on as my pilot, as my very first person, where 1 year ago, it was February of last year, where we said, hey, by June, I want to have these goals and I want to do these things. Now, little did we know, what was going to happen to the world.
Doom and gloom.
A few weeks later. But you went through your own transformation kind of from August to November. And I mean, you're still going through it. But I watched you drop weight, and I watched you cut, and I watched you build muscle and get lean. And I was like, holy smokes, if I'm watching you do it, if this guy can do it, like, you were the first person to show me, oh, it's possible. It's like, I could probably do this. Anybody could probably do this. I don't know what's involved yet still, but tell me about what you went through.
So first, I went through my own transformation. It was an amazing experience. It still is an amazing experience, because it's always pushing yourself to the limit. It's always pushing yourself to like the next point of achieving that goal. So I'm working with my coach, and at that time I worked through a reverse diet. So it's kind of just going back to bare minimum and a total reset before starting to work on building more muscle. So what you saw was a very drastic cut. So we reduced my caloric intake week to week, and it was a really cool process because I've had abs, but I'd never had abs like that. And it was cool to see all the body fat melt off my body to reveal the 6-pack. But I think what you need to know, and you said, you saw it happen. Anyone can do it. Anyone can go through the physical motions. It's really the mental challenge behind it, right? Because you're working just as hard, but your caloric intake or the food consumption is getting less and less. So talking about your goal, you want to remove the bracelets, you want to hit your high school weight. It could definitely happen, because the natural process to reveal your abdominals is to reduce the body fat, which then reduces your body weight. But to Alex's point as well, there's that weird balance that happens, because as you shed the body fat, you build more muscle. So you kind of have this equilibrium, or the scale just kind of balances out in the end.
Yeah.
But it was a really neat process.
So the things that I know are my triggers that are irrational, but I know that they're my triggers, is when I got to a medium size shirt and medium shorts, I don't want to be a large. I could have 6-pack abs and I could weigh 215 pounds and have these big things and all that stuff, but that's not even what I'm going for. I'm not looking to bulk up. I want to lean down, actually. And so going back to a large, I think will actually trigger me in some way. So that's something that bothers me. And then on camera, if we go back and look at stuff I was recording in December, where I was 10 pounds heavier. And so I've kind of lost 10 pounds just by getting more serious over the last, 12 pounds over the last 4 or 5 weeks. In my cheeks, I just get so chunky and stuff. And so it's those are the two things where I like the way that my arms are looking now. I like the way my shoulders looking. I like that people walk up to me and go well, you're someone who works out. And I'm like, I am someone who works out. That's right. Because I've never had that in my life. I've never like quite honestly, the turning point and the moment that changed everything for me was when I got my eyes surgery done, because I used to wear glasses and I was really, really blind. Like I was almost -7 if people know about eyesight stuff. So I was like -6, 7, 5 in one eye and something else in the other. But if my glasses fell off the nightstand, I had to get my wife Jacqueline to find them for me because I literally couldn't find them. If I didn't have my glasses on, I couldn't read a book because I would have to hold it like so close to my face. And so I never looked at myself. You know, when you go to get in the shower, you take your glasses off. And so I step into the shower and the mirror's all foggy and all this stuff, but I didn't have to look at myself. And when I got my hair cut, because I used to have hair, I take my glasses off and I'd sit down. And I just never looked at myself. Like I lived my whole life. I would get a picture and I go, ooh, is that what I look like? Or I had my team lighted in certain ways or me stand in certain ways, or I used to have a little stubble because it hid the lack of definition in my chin, or all of those things that really, really bothered me. And then I got my eye surgery done and suddenly I'm staring at myself in the mirror. Suddenly, 3 years ago, my wife and I were going to take our kids to Disney and I needed to get a haircut. So it's February of 3 years ago. Got to get a haircut. I got to have summer clothes, and none of my summer clothes fit me anymore because they were all larges or extra larges, and I had to go to like a bigger size. So I go to Walmart and I buy extra larges, which are like baggy and I don't like. And there's nothing wrong with being an extra large if that's where you're at, but I just wasn't happy. And then I sit down in the chair and they're cutting my hair, and I just like, I don't like this person. And then we go to Disney and we're having the time of our lives and we have all these photos and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, it's just.
But that was your day one.
I sent Neil some photos of us at that time, and I can flash them up on the screen. Like, and everyone's like, oh, you carry your weight so well. No, you look good. You're strong. But like, I was getting winded tying my shoes because I had to hold my breath. I was getting winded, anyone who's pregnant, all that pregnant stuff that women deal with, going up a flight of stairs. I was like, and so that's where I started. And every step along the way, I've gotten more and more serious. And so if you see my journey, you think, wow, but it's like more serious for a few weeks or a month. And then it's laxing for 2 or 3 months. And then it's more serious again. And then it's getting lax. And so it's like these waves heading the right direction. And so setting this plan and coming up with this idea to me is not only really scary, because I'm actually thinking that I'm probably going to, I think that I just may not be able to do it in that amount of time. I'm afraid that this may be the most disciplined thing that I've ever had to do. So not only am I putting myself out there, not only does it require actually an extreme amount of discipline for a very long time, because I can be disciplined for a very short period of time. And then, those are.
So I want to jump in there. I want to jump in there, and I want to say before I pass over to Alex, you and I, when we did our conversation a year ago, we talked about goals.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you're feeling nervous, and this is something that this is really big. I think I want to refer back to that video because you're expressing an emotion, you're expressing a legitimate concern, or you feel like you're setting yourself up, obviously for success, but there's always that doubt of failure, right? Or that concern or that fear. And I love that because when you're looking at goal setting, that means that you care. You're passionate about this. This is something that is embedded deep down inside you, and this is something that really means a lot. So instead of being I understand what you're saying, and for anyone listening or watching, instead of being afraid of it and pushing it away, I want you to be afraid of it, and I want you to embrace it because it's going to push you even further towards that goal, right?
But yes.
I also
how.
So I just listened to your podcast with Laura, I believe was her name, and she blew my mind. She's so beautiful, such a beautiful person. And in it, she talked about your potential, and you're holding yourself back right now by having those fears. So refocus on, that potential is in you, that fire has been lit. Let's keep it burning. Let's keep you focused on the infinite possibilities of what your potential holds. Let's keep you.
I love this. Focused. I love this only because I've shared with, and sorry to interrupt, I've shared with Neil that up until 2 months ago, I didn't even realize that I had like a team of people, a team of supporters, and that I had the opportunity to invite or pick people to be on my team. And I also had the opportunity to say, no, I don't want you on my team. Like, I'm not going to listen, or I'm not going to speak. And so part of me reaching out to Neil, would even just to ask about this, was like, all along the way, he's been on the team. And then Alex, you coming on board and helping out as well. It's just like, okay, I'm not in this alone.
No, you are not in this alone. You have support, and you have experts. I struggle with imposter syndrome when I use that word, experts. But you have people that you can outsource the resources from. Like, you have us to lean on to ask, how are we going to do this? How can I unlock that potential? But first we need to get that fire lit and going, because of course anyone can do it, but you have to have that drive every day. When you wake up, you write that goal down in your journal, you post it on your mirror in the bathroom, you look at it every single day. And even if it is that 1% step that you take every day, that is the difference between you reaching your goal and you not reaching your goal. Even on the days where you're mentally like, this sucks, I can't do it, you look at that goal, you take that hour to yourself, even if it's 30 minutes, even if it's just your meal prepping, whatever that one step is, you take that. And that is what the difference is going to be between you making your goal and not making it. It's that 1% every day.
Yeah. And
it's falling off and getting back up and doing that 1% every day. It's not 0 to 100 every day. It's 1%.
Yeah.
And it's so often
Sonia Wick, who's someone I had on an early episode of the podcast. She was on Amazon Prime's Eco Challenge. She's an 18-time Ironman participant. She came in second place in her age group at the championships at Kona. She has this quote, which I was like, Sonia, can I steal from you? And she's like, oh yeah. And I was like, she says, work always works. And this is actually something that part of why I love this podcast is the simplest things blow my mind, but I didn't think about the fact that work always works, because I want to do it the right way. And so it's like, to me, doing something at 80%, I've realized still helps you along, because I always thought like you have to kill yourself at every moment, right? You have to have the most extreme diet. You have to have the most extreme this, you have to have the most extreme everything, because if you're not going all the way, then it doesn't mean anything. But now sometimes work, just put in the work, because it will work. And so that's
it's true though. And I'm sure Alex can agree to this. I'm not a parent, whereas you and Alex are, but life happens. Right now we're talking specifically about a fitness goal, but it could be any goal, right? As long as you're working that 1%, 2%, 80%, not always 100%, you're always getting closer and closer. Because yes, life happens, whether it be you have to make lunch for the children, or you have to drive someone to the GO station, or whatever it may be. As long as you're staying focused and you're always progressing, whether it be that 1% or 80%, and never regressing, right?
Yeah. So telepath out for me if you can. So I've decided that I'm going to have 6-pack abs, which in my mind, the reason I picked that is because a weight goal, Alex, as you mentioned, a weight goal is going to maybe actually not get the body I want. 3 years ago when I decided I'm going to get fit, I found a photo of someone else, a before and after photo. I can flash it up now. So I have this before or after photo. So the guy on the left, I was like, I kind of look like that. And the guy on the right, I'm like, well, if he could do it, I could do it. It's been 3 years and I still don't look that way yet. So part of me picking this like, okay, 6-pack abs is kind of this indicator that I've got to be pretty lean. I've got to be very lean. Let's be honest. I've got to be very lean, and I've got to have some sort of definition. So that's just why I picked it. But is that as simple as this goal needs to be, or are there other things that will happen or should happen that I don't even know about? Like what are the things that I might be able to expect as we go through this?
So one thing when I work with my clients that I always remind them is that you and whoever you're comparing yourself to. So obviously you and I won't look the same. I'm different hormone driven than you, but we could eat the exact same thing, do the exact same exercises, hit the heart rates every day, and we will look different because we are built differently. So there is that genetic component to keep in mind when you're making comparison goals. But that doesn't mean that we can't find that for you. We're going to find your version and what works for your body. So I always love to remind people that your body is going to be the best guide for any health goals. You have to keep in mind what your body has already been through, whether it's energetic holdings and trauma, or if it's diets or reverse dieting, if it's a history of distorted eating that we have to work with. We have to keep in mind that your body is where it's at, and we have to respect that and work with it. So when we see the before and after pictures and we're like, well, I want that, you don't know the history there, and your story is going to be different. So we need to work on your story. So my goal as a coach is to help you find how can we get you there.
And Neil, I mean, obviously nutrition, exercise not only go hand in hand, but I mean they have to support each other. As you've gone through this reverse diet and this transformation, and as you're preparing for your own competitions and turning the body into what you want it to be, what can we expect just on, you know, the hunger side, on the energy side, on the cognitive side, on the physical joint and body and all of this stuff that like, quite honestly, I'm like really dumb at. I came up to you in August and I was like, hey man, I've noticed that my cardio has improved. And you're like, yeah, but you ran all through the summer. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't know that it would make my cardio better. And you were like, what are you talking about? Of course, if you run more often for longer, your cardio will improve. Like, I didn't even know that. So consider me to be like, in some ways, very, very dumb. So, you know, my friend Evan tells me that I'm like in a cave sometimes on things. Like, I've lived in a cave. I grew up with a family of wolves. It doesn't make any sense. And then on other things, I seem extremely confident because I've done a little bit of research and things. So what can I expect, or what might happen on this thing?
So I think, so as far as expectation, in my own experience, your cardio is probably going to increase a bit. Your food's going to come down a little bit. And at the beginning, you're going to feel fine. You're going to go through the motions. It's going to feel good, good, good. And then all of a sudden, there's going to be like a light switch. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, oh my God, like this part of the muscle starting to show, or like, oh, like my shoulders look really defined today. Like it literally is a light switch moment. And you just look at yourself in the mirror, or you catch a glimpse and you're like, that wasn't there before. And you start to notice, and then it becomes a game, and then it becomes a race. Cause now you're like, okay, like this is working. Like I can see the changes. I can feel the changes. And then getting into your cardio session is not as hard as it was before, because you're actually excited to get there. Because you're excited to push yourself just a little bit further to see how many more changes can I create today that I will see tomorrow or the next day or the following week, whatever it may be. So that happens. I think you start to feel really good. Now, to the point where my caloric deficit was brought, or my caloric intake was brought right down to the point that I said to you, there was a couple of days where I was with you at the gym and I was coaching classes, and I felt like I just sit down because I'm like, I think I'm going to pass out. This is not a good feeling. Now, I don't ever recommend that to anybody, but it was just the way that it was going. Or that's I guess it was at the end of the process, and I connected with my coach, and then we went back into adding more food. But sorry, I'm losing track of thought here.
Okay. So what can you expect, and what happens? And you're describing it, right? So as things get tighter and tighter and tighter, because I think we think, outsiders, me, I think it's like, okay, I'm gonna, like, even last night I had some 90% chocolate, and I was eating some pecans and almonds, which is what I eat for dessert. And I was like, I'm not on the challenge yet. Let me get this in before the challenge starts. So I kind of think of it as like this switch that's going to flip. But I think what I'm hearing you say is most of us think it's a flip that's going to switch, but then at the end we flip back to the old life. And that's why diets don't work, but lifestyle changes do. That's why
exactly
these things don't work, because I'm ready to flip this switch, and then I'm going to work really hard. And then when it's over, I mean, I gotta figure out how to keep it if I want to keep it. But what I'm hearing from you is it's maybe not a switch. It's maybe more like a funnel that's like starting more here. And then as we go, we're going to continue honing in more and more on the things that matter the most.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. And then you hit a topic there, sustainability. So abs are sustainable, but you will never go back to living life the way that you did before this challenge. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You will always be, if you want to maintain your abs and maintain a body fat percentage in the single digits, or just like, around 10 or 11, that is a lifestyle that you are committing to. Because the second you deviate away from that lifestyle, the abs are the first thing to go. First thing to go.
You just hit on something which is a big thing that's always bothered me. When like for the last 5 years, I'm actually embarrassed to say this. For the last 5 years, the advice I gave people when they got married was to not lose weight and exercise, was to gain weight. Gain weight before your wedding, because if most people put such an importance on their wedding day that they spend 3 months getting fit and they want to get in the dress and they have the makeup and they look great, and you will never look that good again for the rest of your life. Because you're going to get married and life's going to happen and you're going to gain the 12 pounds back or this or that. And you're going to look at those photos and you're going to go, I was so perfect then, but it was fake. It wasn't even real. It was fake. I think gain weight before your wedding, look like garbage. And then when you look at the photos, you're like, I look so much better now. so part of why I've pushed I mentally, even for years, subconsciously, I've been cheating myself of it, because I've gone, well, what's the point of getting fit in my 30s if in my 40s I'm going to look like crap? And then I'm going to take that photo of me at, let's say 37, I'm turning 38 in a month, so I'll be 38. I'm going to take this photo of me at 38, and when I'm 48, I'm going to look back and go, man, I had something. Gosh, I'm back to this now. So that's the other thing that like subconsciously has not only kept me from doing things, but actually kind of scares me, because now it's like, okay, now I'm not only doing this to prove to myself I can, eventually I'm going to have to let go of the fact that was the thing I did. And maybe, you know, I'm not going to be 65. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Am I going to be 65 still with abs, or am I going to look back at this glory days and it was past? And
I think that you're going to experience,
now for me.
you are going to experience, and from my experience, because I've been working on myself, internally, externally, I've been working on myself for 8 years, and I actually look younger now than I did then. So I just turned 31 and I'm like, I am so excited to be in my 30s. I am healthier than I was in my 20s. I can't wait for what 40 has in store for me, because I've learned all of these skills along the way that I'm going to keep in my toolbox that I'm never going to let go of. I have these habits, these daily habits, the healthy habits, the food choices, and knowing I have control of my food choices. So you will pick up these tools to put in your toolbox along the way that is going to keep you, if you want to keep the abs, if you maybe have a fit body and the abs aren't the focus, that's okay too. You're still going to have these healthy habits that you're not going to just wake up one morning and not have anymore. You learn things this whole process and the journey of working on you.
You don't know how fast I abandon my goals. I can abandon goals like that.
I also wanted to point to some of the training adaptations that you're going to experience going through the process, and how the body actually adapts to exercise. And exercise to the body is a form of stress. So although we say it is a stress management tool because it makes us feel good mentally, physically, it actually preps our body to handle stress better. So the healthier you can get at any age you are, the healthier you will age as well, because your body will be better at handling stress and adapting to it in a controlled setting. So when we're thrown at with all these other things that happen in our lives, we're like, I got this. I can handle stress. So there's a lot of adaptations that happen. That's why your cardio improves. That's why your muscle will improve. That's why the muscle gets more defined and bigger, because it has more muscle fibers that connect and they work better, the neuromuscular connection. You're going to have all of that from this process. And it doesn't just reverse itself the day you decide you're not going to work on this goal. So you're going to have all of these training adaptations. And I'm so excited for you to see how over the next couple of years, how that's going to change your life.
Okay. Neil,
we believe in you.
I guess I'm ready to go.
No, so I want to add on to this too, because this has been, funnily enough, a topic that's come up within my personal life. As you age, there is no reason for you to fall out of shape. And I think, going to what Alex is saying, those people, they've had their toolbox full, but they've never reopened it. They never, like, they would just put the toolbox down and they walk away. Whereas, you know, as you age, if you're going to commit to this lifestyle change and you want to look at sustainability, and you're going to hold on to that toolbox with all these amazing tools that you've collected over the years, keep using them. That way, then there is no reason for you to age. Obviously, with injury aside or physical limitations, but there is no reason. Keep eating healthy, keep using the tools, keep exercising. Now, your exercising may not be as aggressive as it is now, but you can still go for a jog with your wife, or you can still, you know, ride a bike with your kids. You can still go take a group fitness class for the social aspect. There's no reason for you to feel that or to be afraid of aging and not being in shape at the same time. It's possible. It's 100% possible.
Well, and I know that it's good. I mean, I don't know the exact studies, but I know that they've done studies that show that there's a direct proportion to muscle mass, to longevity, and being able to fight off chronic disease in later life. Because your body just, when you're, if you're in your 80s, let's say, or your 90s, and you have to fight a very specific disease, the amount of muscle mass you have on your body is the fuel that helps get you through the sickness. And if you don't have the muscle mass, then you can't do it. And so people suggest when you're in your 80s and 90s to have muscle mass. On the other side, I've also heard that the amount of muscle mass you build in your teenagers kind of defines how much muscle mass you can have later in life. And I played video games. I didn't go to gym. I mean, I did phys ed until grade 10. I never did phys ed after that, never joined a sport, didn't jog, didn't exercise, didn't do anything for 15 years. So, I don't know. One side, it's like, hey, I can build muscle mass and maybe it'll help me in 40 years if I'm fighting something off. On the other side, who knows what happened in my past. So that's all the baggage that I'm coming to this with. Okay. So if we change gears a bit from the why kind of we're doing it, and quite honestly, I started getting fit because I wanted to meet my grandkids. I was worried that I would die young and never meet my grandkids. I think that with my dietary changes, moving more whole foods, eliminating a lot of, environmental type, I don't like to use the word toxins, but environmental type chemicals and other things. I think those are all moves in the right direction. But now I just want to look good. I want to hit my target. I want to look the way that I've never thought that I was able to look. I want to feel attractive. I want to be attractive. I want people to like me. All of those no longer those moral issues like be living for my grandkids. It's now, I just want to look good and I want people to like me. So as we plan, so we have this X number of days, right? Like, so I came to you guys and I said, okay, I want to do this in a kind of healthy way. But I don't want to take 9 months to do this. I want to go from where I am today. And so we'll do before photos and we'll kind of show like, this is where I'm today. Here is where I'm on the scale. I guess I got to try and get a DEXA scan or something so I can get a percentage body fat. So this is where I am on day one. How long are we doing this for? What are we doing? What's the plan? What's the initial plan here?
So I know that this has been something that you've brought to me a few times. You're like, okay, well, is it 90 days? But what about 90 days? Do you think in 90 days? I think 90 days is doable. And I think it goes back on you to how focused and how dedicated are you going to be towards this transformation. I also challenged you and I said, you may achieve this within 90 days. So I think you should have like a phase 2,
a stretch goal,
a stretch goal. Exactly.
Neil, I was setting up the rhetorical question for you to answer because I'm a good host. Yes. 90 days. It's going to be, guys. Here we go. So 90 days to go. Like honestly, I'm probably at like 20% body fat or maybe even higher. I might be at like 23 or 24. I always think when I look at those photos online and you're like, I'm like, I'm 15. I'm not 15% body fat. Like I'm just, we'll do some before photos, but I guess, is it called, it's called a DEXA scan? Is that how you get your body percentage fat or something?
Yeah, you do DEXA. DEXA is expensive. You could do like in body. I have a scale here you can use that tells you your body fat. So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll use my scale.
I got to come to your gym and then I can go ahead and get a scan and I need what, like my weight?
I need your weight. I need your height. You can do measurements because that's a really good way to track. Even if the scale isn't moving, you can track if you've leaned in by the measurement, sometimes more than the scale. Once you have that, I will run the numbers and we will start you on the caloric drop, but still making sure that you're feeding your muscles so that you're not going to lose the muscles that you're training. Because if you go too far into a deficit, it actually puts you into like a famine state. Your body will think it's starving, that there's no food available. So every time you eat, it's going to store everything as fat and use your muscle instead. So it's a very, very small deficit at first to get your body used to cutting. And then we can cut a bit more, and then we start feeding the muscle.
Okay.
because we don't want you to go into that famine state, because this happens with women all of the time. I see this even with men. They're like, I'm going to go on a diet, but I'm not losing any weight. I'm eating like 900 calories a day and nothing's happening. And I have to say to them, yes, because your body thinks that there's no food available. It thinks that you're living in a world where there's nothing to eat and it wants to survive. So it's doing what it's made to do. So it's hoarding everything that you eat. So we don't want to do that. So it is a bit of a process, and then we drop, and we have to make sure your body's okay, and then we drop a little more, and we want to make sure that your body systems aren't going to shut down. So I know from my past of unhealthy dieting, I was at such a low caloric intake that I was getting chills and shivering in the middle of July because my body couldn't regulate its temperature anymore because I wasn't giving it what it needed. So we want to be mindful that we're not going to harm your other body systems while still supporting building and your exercise training adaptations.
Okay. So a few quick questions. We're going to do this 90-day challenge, and we're going to start by establishing kind of where I'm at. So like right now, I weigh myself every day. Right now, because I gained a few pounds in the last few days, but I'm at 189 pounds. I'm 5'9". So 189 pounds, 5'9". We'll go ahead and figure out all of the numbers and stuff like that. But should I start the challenge, or should I follow my son's advice and maybe even your advice and just get down to 182 and be able to cut this thing off finally after a year and a half, just get down to 182, knock that challenge out. And then once that's done, that's my starting state. My starting state is like, get that goal. It'll probably take another week or 2 or maybe 3 to be able to lose 7 pounds. So get there and then start, or ignore that first goal because chances are the scale will come down anyway as I start to cut to begin with. What do I do there?
How driven are you? Which one means more to you? Which one is going to get you more excited to get up and work on it in the morning?
I'm really excited about the 90-day challenge, but if I know that I can't start the 90-day challenge until I get this done, then I got to sweep this up and get it out of the way. If it's going to happen inevitably anyway, and it's just inevitable that when I start the challenge that I'm going to lose weight, and by losing weight that this will get cut off, then I'll just roll it into that first one. You tell me what makes more sense.
If your body's adapting the way that we're going to hope and push for it to adapt, then the weight will drop at first. Initially, when we make cuts, it will, but there's no guarantees. Like when I work with clients too, there's no guarantee that your body's going to react the way that we want it to. Mm-hmm. So
because Neil, like they're different goals, right? Like hitting a weight goal is different than hitting a percentage body fat and muscle composition and all. Like they're different goals, right?
It's very different. And I think what Alex is kind of hinting at here too is that anytime that we are approached with a weight goal, we get nervous because we want to dig a bit more into why is it the weight that you're looking for? Because I can't promise you that will get you to that weight. So that's why we're a little bit hesitant to say, go for the weight goal, because in a perfect world, and if your body responds the way that we want to respond, you will naturally drop that weight.
Right.
It's going to happen. But for whatever reason, I mean, there's so many things that we need to find out more about you, more about your body, look at your numbers, look at what's going to happen. I would say, going back to the funnel visual that you created, I think the bracelet now is going to become almost a measure versus a goal. So instead, it's going to become now, I'm on the right track. Like I'm moving in the right direction.
Right.
Because the goal that you've created for yourself in the next 90 days, it's a very different visual, a very different experience than just dropping weight to cut the bracelet off. Does that make sense?
It does. So here's what I imagine happening. So I imagine that, I'm probably going to have to, well, see, this is, so it doesn't even matter. Like in my head, I imagine, well, to make sure that I'm lean enough, I'm probably gonna have to be in the 170s, maybe even the 160s. I'm not sure. And so, but for all I know, by the end of 90 days, I might be 195 and still look great and still be a medium and still be happy. And I've ignored the scale because none of it really matters at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus for the next few weeks on getting this thing cut off. Now, I mean, that is me dropping weight, which means that I'm kind of cheating because I'm dropping the easy weight before the 90-day goal even happens. But it helps me shift from, okay, I've knocked that out, I've gotten that done, I've hit 182. That's our starting weight, 182, 5'9" male, and then I'll take all of my measurements at that point, and then that gives us a few weeks to even plan a little bit more, and then we can get into the real tough, hard challenge, right?
You're going to set yourself up for success. I think it's going to be a really great process. And I know that that bracelet means a lot to you. So if you want to tackle that first before you jump into the 90 days, then I say go for it. I really support that decision. I think that's a good idea.
Can I also, having been through the weight loss and the numbers goal, can you also, may I suggest that you take time to sit with what that number means to you and get ready to let it go? If you guys are going
to coach me, you don't have to suggest anything because I don't really listen to suggestions. What I listen to,
here's what I want you to do.
You better start running.
Here is what I want you to do. I want you to sit with a journal. And if you're not into journaling, you're going to be like, writing things down. It is so important. Write down why that number means so much and what value you have put on that number. Because to us, to me, it doesn't matter. If your goal is to look a certain way, then I want you to look a certain way. The number doesn't define who you are. To me, to your wife, to your children, what you weigh on that scale doesn't define you. But until you work through that process, because right now, cutting off that bracelet is still very ingrained in you. So I want you to write down. Sorry?
Because I set a goal. It's funny. Like I went to the Tony Robbins conference. I took someone there. This is literally the bracelet from June of 2019. So June or July of 2019, I go down to Dallas to a Tony Robbins conference. I put it on, and I was losing weight at the time. I had just started at Orange Theory, June 4th. It's like July. And I'm like, I'm going to lose weight. And that's when it was, and I was like, it's inevitable. I'm going to get down to 182 to high school weight. And by September, I got down to 182.5. 182.5. And I went to an event. Where my family was seeing me for the first time. And so I had put so much pressure, and I was just like, I'm going to get down. I'm going to look good. And I bought a brand new suit. I went to H&M. I've never shopped at H&M in my life because they weren't, the suits and the stuff's not cut for my previous version of me. So I go to H&M, I buy a suit, I show up, and everyone's like, Mark, you look amazing. And I'm like, yes, I do. And then the next day I was kind of like, well, I went to the event, the family saw me, and it lost power. And then, and then by Christmas, so quite honestly, I've never been as lean as I was in September of 19 because I had put this event, and I put this coming out, and I put this, I'm going to buy a new suit, and I'm going to hit it. And then all through 2020, it's like, I know I could cut this off if I just got serious. I know I could if I got serious. So now I'm getting serious, but I'm getting serious because of the 90 days. And mostly it's just like, man, what kind of liar or what kind of cheater am I if I cut this thing off? It's embarrassing how long it's been. It's embarrassing that it's really for a year it wasn't really a focus of mine when it could and should have been. And so now that's why I keep saying sweep it up. It's like I just need to do it because I said I would do it, and I have to do the things that I say I'm going to do. And I really should have done this like a year ago. So I don't want this I wear this as a reminder in other areas of my life not to let things drag out as long as I let this drag out.
Okay, you're just shifting.
I have a tattoo. To quit does not exist. So that I remember, that's my version of reminding myself that you don't just give up on what you've set your heart to do. So I love that. But I still, as part of the process, if you're going to be not bulking up, but as your body composition changes, the scale number might change. And I don't want that to hold you back. I want you to be ready to lose that weight because that was that goal. Let's package it up, write it out, burn the piece of paper if you want to after, and let it go, and be ready to now focus on, I want this body fat percentage. I want my body to feel and look this way. And then we'll focus on doing the internal work too, because that feeling, I mean, you can look and feel really good no matter what your body actually looks like, because that's an internal thought. That's what I think about myself is today I look fabulous. Yeah. You get to decide that, not the number on the scale.
It's so funny because like there was a time where I was like, hey, what's this bone? What's this bone here? I mean, that didn't used to be there. Or like, like when I'm like lifting something and I'm like, hey, my arm looks kind of square. Like, I kind of like how square that looks. So
you
Neil,
catch
you were
yourself
talking
in the
about
mirror. You're like, who is that just walked by? Is that me?
No.
That's my new body?
sometimes, but okay. So I think the biggest arguments, fights, challenges we're going to have are going to fall into two categories. So one, I'm a very, very staunch believer of really aggressive fasting and of keto. And so I know when it comes to cutting in traditional sense, meaning moving to a proper amount of carbohydrates, complex carbs, moving to complex carbs, having a proper amount of protein, limiting the amount of fat you have in the traditional cutting dietary sense. I think we're going to bump up and figure that out or argue about that. And I can explain why I'm such a believer in IF and in keto. And it's mostly for digestive reasons as well, because I had a really bad digestive tract. And that's part of what moved me over. And then I think on the exercise side, I just don't like doing painful things. And I mostly do them when someone's yelling at me. Like, I do them out of duty. So like, I can remember in December, we had to do this workout where we had to hold a body weight squat for 4 minutes or something, or 3 minutes.
It was obscene. It was stupid. Yeah.
And Neil was like, there is no way in hell that you are standing up. And I'm like, I don't know what I was, a minute and a half in, I stood up and he's yelling at me. And I'm like, dude, man, forget you. I'm standing up right now. And then I went back into the body weight squat and he's yelling. And I'm like, okay, I've got this. I do hard things. I'm Mark Traeger. I do hard things. Come on. And then I stand up and he's yelling at me. And I'm just like, forget you, man. And so like, when it comes to weight training or those types of things, I know I got to figure out a way to like it because I'm chasing the outcome rather than give up. And so those are the two big things where I think as we go through this, if we're going to run into if you guys are going to really have to push me on the dietary side, it's going to have to be like, Mark, are you more interested in what works, or are you more interested in this philosophical debate about things? And then on the exercise side, it's like, are you actually doing the workouts you need to do when you need to do them, as aggressively as you need to do them, without going soft?
Well, fortunately for you, you have a team now, right?
Yeah,
and I mean, it's still such a foreign concept for you, but you've created a team and you have these people here who are excited for you and we're eager for you. And we want you to achieve your goals. So we're going to hold you accountable as much as we can. And we're going to ask you all the tough questions. We just need you to be honest back. We're looking for your honesty, and we're also looking for your commitment to it. Because if we're going to commit to you, our expectation is that you're going to commit to the process.
Here's one thing I can tell you. I will be 100% honest about anything you ask me.
Perfect.
Because here's a great example. I have a friend who's going through some health issues, and there are certain things in her diet that she's embarrassed about, and there's certain things in her lifestyle that she's embarrassed about. So she's sitting down with doctors trying to diagnose a health issue she's working with. And I know that she's not telling the whole story. And we say, did you tell your doctors about these things? She's like, no. I'm like, how can they diagnose if they're not aware about the truth, even if it's embarrassing? And so, I mean, like on Thursday night, I commit to myself. I set rules. I'm only eat in like a 1.5 hour window. I had a business meeting Thursday night. And so I ate at 7 p.m. and ate 7 to 8. And then the meeting ended at 10:30 and I was really tired and I should have gone to bed. And instead I went downstairs and ate again. And it's just like, and I'm eating and going, oh man, if I'm doing the challenge,
this not going to fly.
People are gonna be pissed at me. You know what I mean? Like, so if you ask me something, like, quite honestly, I don't think there's anything that you can ask me that I wouldn't be comfortable sharing with you, both of you, and maybe to the audience. Maybe we won't release it. Maybe it's too this or that. But for you guys, there's anything that you want to ask me, I will answer.
Perfect. That's all I can ask for. Right?
I need to ask right off the bat, are you willing to change how you're eating right now if it means you're going to reach your goals?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am. So,
because I can tell you right now, if I'm being honest with you, I'm not going to encourage you to only have a 1 hour eating window through the day. I I'm okay with a fasted period, but you are going to have more than 1 hour to eat.
Yeah, and this is part of what we will fight out, and I will either show you what's possible that you didn't know, or I will learn what I thought will not get me there, and I will come over to your way of thinking. So those are
not
the two things.
necessarily one side or the other. I have
Oh, I'm a
studied.
very black and white guy, man.
I have studied this topic lots. I have read
I know,
lots
and I don't
of
know
dieting
anything,
books.
but
So I have the research that I want to use to help you. I don't want to necessarily, I'm not here to say you're wrong, don't do that. Let's tweak it a bit.
yeah.
Let's tweak it and make it work for you, because
Well,
I can't tell you what's going to work for your body. I'm here to.
Here's what I want to do. I want to do it. I want to hold on to the things that that I want to hold on to until they prove to be holding me back. And so everybody knows that I've been on keto for a year and a year and 3/4. Almost in May, it'll be 2 years where I've been on keto without cheat days. But in most of 2020, despite I was on keto and I was fasting, but I was not actually within ketosis because I was more on like a whole food diet with IF rather than actually being very, very careful to stay within my net carb count, within my protein count, within my fat count. And since New Year's, I have been very careful, which has not only allowed me to have way higher cognitive ability, way more energy, way better sleep, less indigestion. My GI tract is better. So what I want to do is I want to hold on to this until it proves to be holding me back, as opposed to just assuming that a lower calorie diet with more complex carbs and running my body off of glucose rather than off of ketones and other things is the way to go, because that's what everyone does. I don't want to give up the stuff that keto gives me by going the other way. So it is a little bit black and white, because as soon as I start to introduce things that are non-keto based, I lose the benefits of keto. And so it's one or the other, isn't it?
Not necessarily, because there are people like Neil. Neil isn't eating keto and he's ripped. So it's not necessarily going to be that black and white for your body, but I'm here to help guide you and support you in the changes that you're willing to make. So it's like an experiment. You're going to use yourself to biohack and use yourself as your own guinea pig to see. And that may mean that you introduce maybe one new carb. A lot of the times when we feel all these health benefits from cutting out food groups, it's not necessarily the whole food group. It's certain items that you are eating that are causing these issues that you could be sensitive to. So I can eat carbs and I am mentally clear. I sleep well. I feel great. It's gluten that bothers me. As soon as I have gluten, I have head fog. I have headaches for days, a digestive upset. I don't sleep well. I have acne. My skin's breaking out. I have rashes. So it's not necessarily that it's the carbs as a general that are causing this. It could be like specific things that you're eating.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And there was a time where I didn't have coffee for 6 months and went off of all caffeine because I thought that was leading to my indigestion. There's a time where I stayed away from garlic or any type of thing like that because I thought it was leading to my indigestion. And before keto, honestly, the year and a half. So if I'm 3 years into this, a year and a half-ish on keto, a year and a half before that, I was on the slow carb diet, which Tim Ferriss speaks to in 4 Hour Body, which is a lower carb diet, but still complex carbs. So daily intake of lentils or legumes and those types of things. And it also gave me the benefits of like the digestive benefits. So what was happening was my digestion was getting so bad that I was waking myself up in the middle of the night, throwing up. Ugh. I don't know if it was a combination of sleep apnea and digestive issues or whatever it was, but
like
literally,
GERD.
Pardon me?
It sounds like GERDs.
Oh, maybe. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't
acid reflux. Yeah, it's an acid reflux illness that your body just regurgitates anything that you've eaten.
Yes.
Yes. That's
so
what
that
it
was
sounds
happening to me. And my dad has always had digestive issues, but he's taking medication for it. I was not interested in that so I know like 2 weeks ago, I had some sausage in the evening. And the next day when I woke up, we were working out and like we were doing a lot of floor stuff and I was going to puke everywhere. It was just like, It was just not agreeing with me. So those things are out. No pepperoni. That's out. That's not going to happen anymore. But yeah. So I think so you asked me, am I willing to change my diet? I am, provided we've proven that my diet doesn't work. If it's just like, well, this is what we're going to do, I'm going to need a better reason than that. And this is where I kind of become hard to work with.
I'm not going to ask you to do something that I haven't researched myself and read the studies on to know that it may benefit you. And really we have to work as a team. I'm not here to be, I guess, confrontational. I want to support you in working with what you feel comfortable with. And then maybe we'll guide you, and I'm here to support you with it, not be the bad guy. I have to do that with my own children. I don't want to have to do it with you too.
I love it. So as we go forward, so I think what we've agreed to, I mean, this has been amazing, and I really appreciate like all of your knowledge and all of your understanding. And 100%, you, like Neil, you have done it, and Alex, you know how to do this in a greater detail than I know. I just don't want to sacrifice. I just don't want to sacrifice the fact that when I'm in ketosis, I have no hunger pains. Like, it does not bother me to have a 23-hour fast, and then, or a 22-hour fast, and then eat within a 1 or 2 hour period. I don't get hungry, and I don't want to move to something that will cause me to have a lot of hunger pains, because I know I just don't trust myself. Why
are you afraid of being hungry? That's your body sending you signals. Your ghrelin is a hormone that tells you when you need to eat. That's a healthy hormone to have regulating your body.
Well, so my understanding is that new research shows that a lot of times what people thought was that the connection between the brain and the microbiome, or the digestive tract, that signals went a single way, but there's new studies that show that signals actually go both ways. And so what's happening within your stomach, what's happening with your insulin levels, what's happening with your hormones that are being triggered by your food intake and the type of food you eat, actually sends back up. And so, in the fall, I was diagnosed with GAD, with generalized anxiety disorder. I don't really want to focus on medicine for that. I do not want to take a prescription for my anxiety. And so that's why when it comes to like diet, I think that I can diet my way to overcome some of the anxiety, like some of the hormones, some of the responses. I believe that more than exercise, exercise makes me look the way that I want, but diet makes me feel the way that I want. And so that's why some of these things that you're really pushing up against are, I've made a decision, for example, like, I don't talk about this. I made a decision that I'm not going to wear deodorant or antiperspirant anymore. And I haven't for maybe a year now. Now, it's really easy when I'm at home to smell horrible. It's really hard to be around other people and smell horrible, but I've decided that that's not something I'm going to do, because I don't want to absorb those chemicals, and I don't see any reason to, or things like that. So for me, wrapping my sleep and exposure to cold and vitamin D and sunlight intake and what I'm putting into my body and what I'm eating, like, it's all one big thing. And if we can maintain that one big thing, so like moving to brown rice, I'm totally open to. Like, I'm totally open to eating brown rice, or to eating lentils, or to eating these sweet potatoes, these complex carbs, if they don't make me super, super hungry, if they don't wreck my my digestive tract, if they don't throw something else off, I'm totally open to bringing them in. I just want to maintain this skeleton thing that I've built that I'm trying to work towards.
You've built this shield. You've built the shield around yourself, because that's how you feel safe.
Yes, 100%. You've nailed it.
Yes.
And don't do anything to make it crumble, because then I'll feel out of control.
My job as a coach is to sometimes push that boundary a little bit, but you can come back to that safe space. Yes.
And I guess that's the other thing. If we try something and it doesn't work, we can always go back, right?
We come back. Mm-hmm. But until we try it, and really, as I said, you're biohacking using yourself as your own homework. Until we try it, I may have a week of you with slightly higher carbs. We'll try it for a week. If it's not working, we take that step back again.
Okay.
But we don't know until we've tried that. And we push that boundary a little bit, knowing that we can be like, okay, nope, bring the blanket back, put me back in my bed, wrap me up like a baby burrito. It's okay, I'm safe. But sometimes we're not going to know what's out there unless we take that step and we're like, let's try
really
this.
Good, actually. This is really good because I've known, like, for over Christmas, I didn't beat myself up for not being as aggressive with my diet because I knew as soon as I got aggressive, everything would snap back into place. And anyone who has tried to fix, and when I mean diet, I don't mean a diet. I mean, when you fix your diet, the first few days, it's like your salt intake drops, your water weight drops, the inflammation in your joints drop. And so you end up you're like, wow, I've just lost 5 pounds. God, I'm the greatest person. So it's funny because I knew that if things are off, I can snap it into place quickly. But I actually didn't think about the fact that if I try something and it takes me off, I could snap it back the other way. And that's, you just taught me something.
There you go.
I like it, coaches. Thank you so much. So,
yay.
So where do we go from here then? So we have 90 days. We know that it's going to start as soon as I cut this off, and we're going to take percentage body fat and weight and height and measurements, and we're going to start on some kind of meal plan or something, or I'm going to track what I'm eating, and then things will get just harder and harder as we go. Is that basically the plan?
Harder is one way to look at it. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to get interesting. I think we can use a different term there. Language is very important. I think that it's going to be exciting. I think you're going to be challenged, and you are calling it a 90-day challenge, and that's what it's going to be. Not harder, it's going to be challenging. And when we push that boundary, that's where the magic happens.
I agree with what Alex is saying. And as far as starting the 90-day challenge, so you want to be able to remove that bracelet first and then have a set day, or are we going to create a set day now and do the funnel? Like, where do you want to go? You're doing bracelet first and then start?
Let's say March 1st.
March 1st?
March 1st we start. I've got
alrighty.
Today is what, the 13th, 14th?
Today's 13th.
13th. I got 2 weeks to get as close to getting this off as possible. I mean, Perfect. There was a time where I was losing a pound every 2 days, and that only ended 3 days ago. So, so my Thursday, Friday threw me off. But and I will tell you, Neil, do you remember how? I don't know if you remember this, but I mentioned that when I cut this off, that I'm going to go out and grab sushi because I haven't had sushi in a year and a half. And so, Alex, you were asking like what my main motivating factor is. I really want to eat some sushi, and my 12-year-old son is on me because we haven't gone out for sushi in a year and a half together. And then when I told Neil this, Neil's like, I'll go for sushi too. So that gives me 2 weeks to get this off, get prepped, get ready. March 1st, we start. That takes us April 1st, May 1st, June 1st.
Perfect.
June 1st, we're having our celebratory, photo shoot, I think you told me we have to do?
What kind of photo shoot is it going to be, Mark?
You want me in underwear, you said.
No, well, I mean, not only do I, but the members do too. No, this is your goal. That is your goal. That is your stretch goal, right?
I wanted to be all along that I basically want someone to come up to me and be like, you know what? I'm casting for this new Tommy Hilfiger catalog. I think you'd look good in a bathing suit. And so my goal was to be a bathing suit model. Neil wants me to be an underwear model. So we'll see how good I look. But June 1st is the cutoff then, right?
Perfect. So beginning March 1st, what we need to do then, we need to get your numbers down. You're going to have consult with myself. You're going to have a consult with Alex. We're going to look at plans. You're going to go grocery shopping.
Okay.
Right? Because you're going to have to be looking at your food. And then it's just a matter of just like maintaining or tracking and tweaking the entire way. So you're going to be taking photos, taking measurements. Whenever we need the weight or whenever we need to adjust something or see something, you step on that scale. But that's what the process is going to be. Just week by week, taking a little bit at a time. We might be adding, we might be subtracting, and we're going to have fun.
Okay. And then I'll keep the IG audience updated with what we're doing through stories and through posts.
Yeah.
And then maybe we do monthly, or you guys can set how often we need to do the photo or the weigh-in or something, but there's got to be something that I can do to help keep the audience informed as to the official, this is how much progress we've made. Here's how far we have to go. So.
The pictures and the measurements will be a better determinant than the scale.
Okay. So this isn't the Biggest Loser. I got you.
No. So we may even, like, what if we only do, how would you feel if we only did a start weight and an end weight and didn't weigh for 90 days? I want you to be off the scale for 90 days. I will come to your house and get it if I have to. I'm going to take it from you.
No, that's okay. I don't have to weigh myself.
Okay. I want you to know, because you've been focused on that weight loss for so long, and I really worry that's going to derail you a bit.
Okay. Start weight. No problem.
So we'll do measurements and we'll do photos. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's an even more of a challenge. I love that. So 90 days, no weigh-in, strictly measurements, strictly photos. And no, I love that. And Mark, you'll have lots of content and lots of information to share with your audience on Instagram and on your stories.
And then we're gonna do a proper photo shoot at the end, right? Like I'm gonna have these photos where I look.
I told you, I already have the photographers in mind. Yeah, 100%. Full-blown photo shoot. Like we're thinking like Victoria's Secret, but it's like Victor's Secret.
Ooh, okay.
We'll get you some big wings.
Here we go. Oh man. It's funny because actually I'm not scared about the end because I think I'm going to look awesome. I'm confident that I'm going to look awesome. I'm actually more scared about the before photo because like if anyone went through my IG, if anyone goes through my, I mean, I spent years not wanting to take my shirt off. So, you know, like this is going to be the big thing. It's the before photos. And Jacqueline's like, you look great. Oh my goodness. And everyone's like, you look so awesome. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't see this nice hidden stuff that I have under my shirt. All you see is these things that are harder. So
the first photo is always the hardest. It's always the hardest. But as I said to you, your first photo is your day one photo. So it always changes from there. You'll never look like that again, I think, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Even in a week, there will be enough of a difference following the plan. You're going to be like, oh, that's not even me anymore. You'll see. It's going to be a very eye-opening and a really exciting process for you to experience.
If you want to see how this whole thing got started, you've got to hear this story. Click on the link right over there, check out that video, and I will see you there.